Sepanjang hidup bersamamu, kesetiaanku tulus untukmu hingga akhir waktu. Kaulah cintaku, cintaku sepanjang hidup. Seiring waktu aku bersyukur atas hadirmu kini dan selamanya. Aku milikmu, yakini hatiku. Sepanjang hidup bersamamu, kesetiaanku tulus untukmu hingga akhir waktu. Kaulah cintaku, cintaku. You could try to turn off the sun, I'm still gonna shine away, yeah, and tell everyone we're having some fun today. We can go wherever you wanna and do whatever you like. Let's just have a real good time. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum, yeah. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum, yeah. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum, yeah. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum, yeah. I just wanna spread love and peace and all of my happiness, yeah, to everyone that I meet, 'cause I'm feeling spectacular. I love it when we love one another. Give thanks every day for this life, living with a smile on my face. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum, yeah. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum, yeah. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum, yeah. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum, yeah. Spread peace on the earth, cherish the love that is around us. Spread peace on the earth, treasure the love that is around us. Always be kind, always remind one another. Peace on the earth every day. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum, yeah. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum, yeah. Assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam. Assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum, yeah. Spread peace on the earth, cherish the love that is around us. Spread peace on the earth every day. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum, yeah. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum. I know my life ain't perfect, but I don't have to.
Check. For the debaters, you may just directly proceed to the stage while waiting for the preparations of the adjudicators.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the second preliminary round, shift 5 of MTQ-MN 15th, 2017. The motion in this debate is discuss believe that moral education in modern school is deteriorating. In the opening government, we have Universitas Wijaya with Mr. Bilal as the Prime Minister and Mr. Abdal as the Deputy Prime Minister. And in the opening opposition, we have Institut Pertanian Bogor with Ms. Bunga as the leader of opposition and Ms. Vivi as the deputy leader of opposition. While in the closing government, we have Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta with Mr. Urfan as the member of government and Mr. Adifta as the government whip. Lastly, in the closing opposition, we have YIN Syah Nur Jati with Ms. Rahma as the member of opposition and Ms. Nailul as the opposition whip. We proceed to the debate. We would like to call the Prime Minister in this debate. Mr. Bilal, time is yours.
Cek. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, ideally, school should be a place where students can be educated and be individuals who have good morality. Schools will teach students not only become smart, but also become students who have good behavior. It is in line with the Quran Surat Al-Mujadilah verse 11. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu iza qilalakum tafsasahu fil majlisi fafsahu yafsahillahu lakum wa iza hilan fan yusuf yarfa ilalahul lazina amanu minkum wa allazina utul ilma darajatin. In this verse shows to you that Allah will raise you the degree of Muslim people that will be increased if these Muslim people have knowledge and imam. It shows to you that moral educations cannot be left behind in the process of learning. But unfortunately, modern schools that exist in status quo make environment to teach moral education is deteriorating. Moral education we define in this debate is the behavior of students that in line with the social norms and Shariat of Islam. How does the characteristic of modern schools? Number one, modern schools, the way teachers or schools to measure the success of students or performance of students through score. We think that how it makes students prefer the instant way rather than the hard work or the process of learning, because the orientation of the students only want to get the good score itself. We think how modern school in the end normalize, or the students in the modern school normalize the process of cheating and normalize the idea of plagiarisms that it is not in line with the Shariat of Islam. And secondly, how modern schools also use the system of ranking that is very bad, ladies and gentlemen. Because in the end, student will focus on their self, will focus on their ranking, and then in the end, make student will be individualistic in the futures. By those characteristics, the modern schools more value students who have a good ranking and good scores rather than students who try to be honest and try to be fair, ladies and gentlemen. This make moral education in modern school become deteriorated because it will make students become selfish, become individualistic, and they actually justify the unfair competitions. So in my speech, I'm gonna talk two things. Number one, the environment of modern schools make moral education be left behind, and number two, modern schools make students become individualistic, that is as the result of bad behavior within the modern schools. Before I continue my argument, yes? But it's not really effective, ladies and gentlemen, because modern schools still value your score, still value your ranking in order to classify you become smart students or become the students who have the low performance. Because in the end, the different different treatment between smart people and smart students and students who have a bad performance is actually separated by school. For example, in the modern schools, people who have a good ranking will separated in the special class, and people who have the low ranking will separated in the different class. We think this value of ranking and score makes students has behavior to only focusing on the score and to only focusing on the ranking. We think it's a very bad on the moral education of the students. Go to my first argument that the environment of modern schools make moral education be left behind. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you before that modern schools, like teacher and schools, assess students based on the score. These scores become the absolute parameter to judge performance of students. Students who have the good score will become the smart students, and students who have bad score will perceive as the stupid students. It will impact it to the moral educations, that moral educations become deteriorating. Number one, students will justify the act of cheating, ladies and gentlemen. This cheating is actually morally wrong because it is not fair for students who try to be honest, and secondly, it will dismiss the process of learning. In the end, it hurt the cause of knowledge of students who should prioritize the process of learning rather than the score of the students that will be obtained in the end of the day. And secondly, we think how when students only focusing on the results, student in modern school will only dismiss the idea of the hard work, will dismiss the idea of the process of learning that maybe is more important rather than the score itself. But student is too shy if they get bad score in the school. So we think modern school is very contributed in making students become so selfish, and in making students to only focusing how they can the best the instant way by having a good score itself. Secondly, modern schools make students become individualistic that result into bad behavior, ladies and gentlemen. Because modern school and status quo, that when they use the system of ranking, we think how it makes students become individualistic. Because ranking is more important rather than helping other students. Because when they only focusing on ranking, they will become the selfish individual. They become the individual. They will become the individualistics that do not value, like for example, teamwork, ladies and gentlemen. We think Islam teach us to be to not be selfish and to help each other. We think the moral education in modern schools is very deteriorating when modern schools only focusing on the score and only focusing on the ranking. We think the students will not be habituated to have a fair treatment and to have to not do cheating. So by that, we are very proud to propose. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Bilal. As the Prime Minister, Mr. Bilal spends 5 minutes 31 seconds. 5 minutes 31 seconds. To respond to the case of the government team, we would like to call the leader of opposition, Ms. Bunga. Time is yours.
A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My brother and sister in Islam, it is very nice opportunity. I, as the opposition team, would like to first rebut what the government team has already said. First, we want to define that actually we believe that the score has become the parameter in school, not only in the modern school, but also from 100 and even 1,000 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. So we believe that actually the mechanism and also the definition from the government bench of the house is not valid. And we believe that when they are saying about the idea of the process of learning, ladies and gentlemen, we believe that actually the modern school still achieve that kind of idea. Why? Because we believe that the composition of the value at the end is not only from the final examination, but also from the assignment and also paperwork and the presentation during the progress of the education, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that actually the definition from the government team of the house is not valid, ladies and gentlemen. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we believe that actually when they are saying that actually cheating and also plagiarism is something that is not counted in this modern school, we believe that that is also not valid, ladies and gentlemen, because the person that is cheating on also do plagiarism, will be punished, ladies and gentlemen. Even they are just sent out from the school. And also, ladies and gentlemen, just few moments ago, when in one institution there's one person that is bullied their friend, these universities are just send this person out, ladies and gentlemen. This case means that actually even in this modern school, they are still acknowledging the moral education very much, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, going to my substantive. Like what Ali bin Abi Talib say, ladies and gentlemen, that educate or teach your generation as their generation, ladies and gentlemen. So don't push your children to follow your education in the father or maybe grandfather generation, ladies and gentlemen, because we understand that actually the moral education is shifting nowadays, ladies and gentlemen, because like adab in Al-Quran, ladies and gentlemen, like when we are just meeting our brother, we have to shake hand and salam. But nowadays in modern world, we are just send a chat with salam also, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that actually that kind of the moral education is not deteriorating, ladies and gentlemen. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we believe that actually teacher in modern school is more able to use the modern tool like internet, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that actually student itself, the teacher should teach us on how they should behave like in internet, like they also should uphold the adab of silaturahim and etc., ladies and gentlemen. We believe that actually if the teacher, they are not following the globalization, we believe that actually this teacher, they could not use the internet and they cannot teach their children how to use the internet, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that actually the moral education in modern school is not deteriorating. And the second of all, ladies and gentlemen, like what we already know, ladies and gentlemen, in traditional school, we believe that actually maybe some teacher, they can just doing anything like what they want. When a student, they are false, they can like maybe punch or kick, ladies and gentlemen. But we believe that actually in modern school, that kind of action has been regulated by the Ministry of Education, ladies and gentlemen, while actually the teacher, they could not do as anything as they want, ladies and gentlemen, because we believe that actually like what is stated in An-Nahl 125, A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim, bismillahirrahmanirrahim, uda ila sabili rabbiku bil hikmati wal mar'i zotil hasanah. Call the way of your Lord with the wisdom and good instruction. We believe that actually the gentleness on how teacher is teaching their student is a way that is very much upholded in this modern school, ladies and gentlemen. And besides that, we believe that actually the moral education, the character education is something that is very upholded right now, ladies and gentlemen, like the anti-corruption education that has already standardized by the Ministry of the Education, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that that kind of case is a proof that the modern school nowadays is a school that's still upholding the moral education very much, ladies and gentlemen, and still concerning about the moral education very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look when just maybe 20 years ago, there is no character education, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that actually modern school nowadays having a good moral education, and this is of course not deteriorating. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ms. Bunga. As the leader of opposition, Ms. Bunga spends 5 minutes 14 seconds. 5 minutes 14 seconds. Next, I call upon the Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Afdal. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'll begin my speech with reading a verse from Al-Baqarah, verse 148. Auzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Walikullin wijhatun huwa muwalliha fastabiqul al-khairati. What needs to be emphasized here is that fastabiqul al-khairati, which is to compete in the ways of goodness, in the ways of Allah. The problem in modern school right now is that people are competing, however not in a just way that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prescribes to us, which is the goal of this education is merely to receive the recognition, which is the scores and also the success in examination performance, which does not measure how well you are in mastering that, ladies and gentlemen. If opening opposition denies that basically, scoring system has exists long ago, since 100 years ago, we think that it's not true, because Rasulullah SAW never discriminates his disciples just because of, for example, someone is smarter than others, because of he also embraces the others that need education the most. It is also it is also reflected by philosophers of Muslims in the history, for example, such as Ibn Sina, that was even okay with going broke and also losing money because of he believed that the education is to attain the wisdom and also not the money, not the fortune, ladies and gentlemen. And this is exactly different with the modern school right now, that basically has narrative that you need to have good scores in your examination so you can graduate to the good university, so you have good job in the end of the day and also have much money. And we think that this is not the narrative that we should impose on Muslims nowadays, ladies and gentlemen, right? So we think that this is how it goes against the principle of Islam. I'm going to talk about two things in this debate. I'm going to deal with idea of how modern education is promoting internet, just like what they say, but second of all, I'm going to deal with moral education, just like what opening opposition wants. Firstly, dealing with internet, we say that internet is merely a tool, right? On opening government, we also never say that Islam bans the use of internet. But what we refer here is that in modern education, it is the overuse of internet. And that is to say that teachers, who should be the central of the teaching, has no longer been disregarded because of students are already taught to be independent and highly reliant on the internet. Therefore, they can access the knowledge by themselves, meaning that the role of teachers are no longer that crucial. No, thank you. Just like what we had in the past, ladies and gentlemen. So opposed to the central figure of education, just like the Prophet Muhammad used to be, right now the students are individualistic, meaning that right now in context, nowadays, the protection to the teachers are also finally weak because of the teaching is no longer reliant on the wisdom and charisma of the teachers. For example, in terms of disciplining the behavior, there are cases of bullying, for example, and finally the teachers need to resort to light corporal punishment because of number one, it is impossible to disqualify the students since it is going to be more harmful. But second of all, the mediation and counseling has failed. Unfortunately, right now, if the teachers basically punish the students to teach moral education, the students can also sue the teachers themselves, ladies and gentlemen. And that is to say, meaning that it is crippling down the ability of teachers to show charisma in disciplining moral education of students, since students can also opt in not to listen to the teachers, since if the teachers punish the students, they can sue the teachers in the court. And we think that this is compromising moral education, like what we had in status quo in the past, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we think that it's bad. But talking about internet, it is exactly the overuse of internet, since teachers are no longer regarded. Well, teachers' orientation is also at least to make sure that the students pass the exams, and we think that this is taken for granted. The plagiarism, for example, they just copy-paste from the internet just to, for example, pass the exams. We think that this is hurting the essence of intellectual pursuit, just like what Imam Shafi'i says, which is what is required to pursue education is at least you need to be determined. Second of all, it needs process, but lastly, it also needs the guidance of ustads, or in this case, teachers. We think that all of these roles, all of these things are diminished in the modern school because of number one, you don't need to be determined to basically master all, and that is to say because the process is also instant, there is an overuse of internet, and you are deemed as successful only if you pass the exams. Meanwhile, basically you cannot generalize the talents of students, the talent and also the capacity of students, ladies and gentlemen. But lastly, because the orientation of the teachers are also based on, well, While I am already successful because my students have passed the exams, it is also diminishing the guidance of the teachers who should actually give personal guidelines, personal guidance, just like Prophet Muhammad and Ustads in the past did to their students. So for all of those reasons, ladies and gentlemen, the conclusion, the modern school has deteriorated the moral education. That's why opening government is very proud to propose. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Afdal. As the Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Afdal spends 5 minutes 29 seconds. 5 minutes 29 seconds. To complete the debate in the opening bench, we would like to call the Deputy Leader of Opposition, Ms. Fifi. Time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, in here we ask the opposition team in this house to try to clarify several things that actually there is a misunderstanding that come from the government team in this house. When they try to claim that actually modern school today are make this education getting left behind and create such a dismiss of idea of hard work in the student, of course not, ladies and gentlemen. If you know that actually Ministry of Education from 2013 try to release the curriculum of 2013 for our student is in order or on purpose to give such a mental revolution to our student, ladies and gentlemen, to not only pursuing the score but also pursuing the mental and moral character to the student, ladies and gentlemen. That should be noted. And also we see that actually in era not yet President Jokowi era, we are trying to create such a mental revolution for all of society in Indonesia. We see that actually this kind of form not only apply in Ministry of Education but also apply for all of sectors in Indonesia. We see that actually there is a development of steps that's tried to take by the government in giving not only pursuing score but also mental and moral character, ladies and gentlemen. So we see that actually definition that come from government team in this house is failed to explain the modern school. No, thank you, sir. And also when they try to give example in Rasulullah period, ladies and gentlemen, we say it happens several years ago in Indonesia, not in the term of Rasulullah period, because we also acknowledge that in Rasulullah period there's no kind such a thing only pursuing and gain or obtain just score, ladies and gentlemen, but also moral and moral education. No, thank you, sir. And the last is that when they try to claim that actually when there is a teacher being sued in teaching the moral character to their student, we see that actually it is in the term of justice, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, before, no, thank you, sir. Of course, before this teacher is punished by the court, there is an investigation which one is wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Teacher is not God that always right, ladies and gentlemen. Of course we should see the other perspective that probably the way of the teacher teach such a moral thing is wrong, ladies and gentlemen. So because of that, we think that actually there is no wrong in the modern school era. No, thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we see from usul fikih, al-yaqinu la yazulu bishak. Belief on something couldn't replace the doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, we see that actually there is a doubt that come from government team in this house, saying that actually there is a bad things in modern school. But we see, ladies and gentlemen, there is so much development in modern school that we can gain and we can make our young generation to the betterment, ladies and gentlemen, which is through moral character. And also, we believe that, no thank you, Ministry of Education creates such a mental revolution in purpose, ladies and gentlemen, to create the betterment of our young generation mental. In Usul Fikih also mentioned that al-umuru bi maqasidiha, everything depends on the purpose. We see that actually there is a purpose from Ministry of Education creates such a more development because there is so much good thing that one try to take, ladies and gentlemen. No, thank you. And also we believe that to get such betterment, to create mental and moral education is not only come from school. We see that actually seems like the government team only want to get such a moral education just from school, ladies and gentlemen. We see that actually parents in the very first place from family should teach their kids to have a moral education through religious education from first, ladies and gentlemen. For example, to teach them to Salah, to teach them all of Rukun Iman and Rukun Islam that we have, ladies and gentlemen. Alif Lam Mim Dalikal Kitabul La Raiba Fi Hudal Lil Muttaqin. We see that actually from Al-Quran we see so much teaching and learning that can be given, possibly given from the parents to their kids, ladies and gentlemen, in the term of moral education. So we see that actually the modern school right now is not deteriorating the value of education itself, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of things that we see that actually there is a misconception that comes from government team in this house, and we believe that to gain the ridho of Allah is not the way that we should just blame the modern school on that part, ladies and gentlemen. So because of that, we beg you to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you. As the Deputy Leader of Opposition, Ms. Vivi spends 5 minutes 22 seconds. 5 minutes 22 seconds. To extend the case of the government team, we would like to call the member of government, Mr. Urfan. Time is yours.
Cek. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. As the closing government side of the House, I concede that the opening debate was not wise at all, because it was sounds like he said and she said. The opening government said in the modern school there are cheating, individualistic students and also plagiarism, while the opening oppositions, they said that there is mental revolutions that being created by our Ministry of Education, right? But in here we are talking about moral educations in modern school. So in order to determine whether there is a deteriorating or not, we should understand holistically. For instance, we have to understand inside what are the things that happen inside the modern school itself and also outside the school itself, ladies and gentlemen. And also and after we understand the systems inside the modern school itself, we need to look up the aftermath effects in the current society itself, ladies and gentlemen. So what I'm going to talk about within my debate is that there is a phenomenon in which are found to need to be seen in relations to moral educations that happen in modern school itself. I would like to say that there is less engagement between parents and also the students itself, especially students who attend the modern school itself. But before that, I would like to say that we also agree with the idea of the characteristics of moral educations in which the students are score-oriented. And then we also agree with the idea that moral education is really important. Furthermore, we concede that moral educations is really important, but in order to create moral educations or in order to make moral educations happen, we have to work hand in hand. What does it mean, ladies and gentlemen? If we want to implement the moral education itself, there are two stakeholders that must work hand in hand, in which the school itself and also the parents itself, because the students don't always like stay in schools, right? But they also go home. So there is a requirement that should be fulfilled if we want to achieve the idea of moral educations. But it doesn't work in the current status quo, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Like what being said by the opening government, modern school is school-oriented. But I would like to add up the characteristics of modern school itself. Not only they are score-oriented, but also the modern school requires their students to stay up until 8 hours per day. What does it mean, ladies and gentlemen? They must do private class with their own teachers. They must create small group discussions in which takes time, ladies and gentlemen. We think there is a deteriorating because the modern school itself, they use their own curriculum, they run their curriculum by their own self, and the stakeholders outside the modern school itself could not give contribution at all or could not give such a contributions. For instance, if they want to correct the curriculum, stakeholders from the outside of the school, they cannot do that, ladies and gentlemen. Moreover, in the current status, especially parents, ladies and gentlemen, parents could not give advice to the modern school itself because the curriculum is really legitimate and cannot be touched by the parents. Moreover, in the current status quo, the parents are being overwhelmed by the notions that modern school is the best school that will create decent individual in the future. So the parents put trust upon the modern school itself and they don't involve simply, they just rely, ladies and gentlemen. What does it mean? If the systems are like that, the students are getting tired, they are busy with their homework, and they only want to accomplish the achievements that being required by the school itself. And there is no relations between students and also parents itself. We think this is wrong and also backlash with the idea of Islam's right, because parents have a duty to educate their own children. There are two educations that's supposed to be provided by the parents in which relate to religious and also knowledge that being required to be able to survive in the future in the societies, right? It's also relate to the hadith of Prophet Muhammad that when a man dies, his acts come to an end, but 3 recurring charity, pious sense, and also knowledge will not be forgotten, ladies and gentlemen. So in this case, if we would like to determine whether there is a deteriorating or not, we have to understand about the system itself. The students are busy so that there is no relations. Well, it is important to create relations because khairun nasi man tola umruhu wa hasuna amaluhu. What does it mean? The best mankind in the world if they are good and also they live longer. If there is no relations, if there is no cooperations between students who attend the modern school with the parents, so this is really backlash with the idea of Islam's right. That's all my speech. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. The member of government spends 5 minutes, 3 seconds. 5 minutes, 3 seconds. To respond to this case, I'd like to call upon the member of opposition, Ms. Rahma. Time's yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm standing here. I would like to deliver my rebuttals to the government team and my arguments about this motion. There are 3 rebuttals for the government team. First is the government team said the modern school give the students opportunity to do cheat, to do their assignment, to do their papers and anything. But number of cheating nowadays, we believe that the numbers of cheating in our schools are reducing because of the curriculum that has been implemented in our schools is Kurtilas or Kurnas, that using student-centered. So we believe that there is no space for the students do cheating each other. And can you guarantee that all students do instantly learning process? There is no moral than explanations here. And the second here, the government team talks the implementation of the moral education in Prophet Muhammad's era. So we believe that in the Prophet Muhammad era, with this case, is it different situations? So is it inappropriate for no thanks? And how can the students? And the third is how can the students course? From the second government here, they say that the course of the students make or ignoring the moral education from the students itself. How can the students' course or students' activity to get their knowledge, to get their education is ignore or deteriorating their moral educations? Okay, okay, no thanks. Okay, welcome to my arguments. Let me begin by giving you to state from Quran There is first is from Quran Surah Al-Qasas in 77 that it said, and just do a good thing to the others such as Allah has been good done to you. And the second here from Al-Hujurat in 12th verse that said, oh you believed, avoid much assumptions. Some assumptions are seen. We believe from both of verses here, we know that God loves to us the human have positive assumption and do in the good things. We believe that this case is comes from our assumptions about the modern schools where they give or make a deteriorating the morals education for the students itself. And then there are two main points that of my extensions agreements to oppose this motion. The first is we believe that our curriculum in modern school here has moral education as basic competence evidence. The evidence is here. First, most Excel students are product of modern school from the modern school. So here, as the evidence of proof that the modern school give or produce the best students. And the second here, most modern school have students who well behaved and know how to respect with their teachers, with the other students, with their nothings. And modern here means the civilized. And because modernization is a product of human civilization, so it is wrong to say that moral education is deteriorating. And the second point here is that even if there is, yes.
Would you mind to tell me the parameter whether moral education is good or bad?
Yes. I have already explained to you that is it only comes from our assumptions. So we believe that from your evidence also there is no guarantee that is the moral education is deteriorating from the modern school. And next, go to the next the second point from me. Even if there are students whose moral is deteriorating, modern school is not one of the blame. So we don't need to blame the school the modern school here because of it's just a little number for the students do cheating or do bad moral education. And because there are many factors outside schools that important in shaping in students' morality, as we believe, as we know that the parents also has a role to shape their the moral education from to the students. And the second in the environment cause, and the third is the media from the television influence maybe, and the fourth is their own psychological aspect. So blaming modern school only is unfair because those factors also have responsibility to students' morality. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ms. Rahma. The member of opposition spends 5 minutes 13 seconds. 5 minutes 13 seconds. To summarize the case of the government team, I'd like to call upon the government whip, Mr. Adif. The time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very regrettable to see that in the opening debate, they do explain on the reason and the cause of why the moral education is deteriorating, but they never manage to explain on why the moral education is very important since the first place. While we, the closing government, have managed to explain to you that moral education is very important because it is linked to the interaction with the others. It is going to make students capable to interact in a good way towards the others. Moreover, the reason why Islam is coming since the first place is because Islam wants to improve the akhlak or the character of the people. Like what has been said by Prophet Muhammad, Innama bu'itsu liutamima makarimal akhlak. That actually I, Muhammad have been sent by the God to purify the good akhlak. Moreover, in Ar-Ra'd in verse 11, Allah says that Inna Allaha la yughayyiru ma biqaumin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah will not change the condition of people until they change the condition of their soul. Now, if we are talking about soul, are we talking about intelligence or we are talking about character? Character, of course, right, ladies and gentlemen? That's why we believe that moral education is very important, and we become the one who managed to answer that. Moreover, both of the team only debating about whether the system of moral education in school have caused the students to cheat or not. Unfortunately, they didn't manage to explain on what is actually the cause of the failure inside the moral education system. They do say, the government, the opposing government says that, well, the moral education is failing because the students are cheating. And they say that, well, the moral education is working because there is a mental revolution. Unfortunately, both of the teams didn't manage to explain on, didn't manage to prove which one is true. Well, the closing government on the first speaker managed to explain to you the reason why the moral education system is failed. Because of what? Because one of the characteristic of the moral education is that the existence of full day school system, in which, because the full day system is applied, then the interaction between parents and the students becomes very limited. While actually parents have very important role in their moral education. Parents have a very important role in the moral education system as the first source, as the most important source of the moral education. Remember, Prophet Muhammad SAW also said on one hadith, Allah SWT also said on one hadith, not a minute, Kullu mauludin yuladu alal fitrah fal walidani alladhi yuhawidanihi aw yunassiranihi aw yumajisanihi. So every children is born in fitrah, and it is their parents who will determine whether the kid is actually a Christian or a Jew or a Majusi. This shows to us on how important the role of the parents in the moral education. Before continuing, yes.
Sir, we see that actually in our education today that there is a big involvement of parents in the activities of their student even in the school. Thank you.
First, it is very unfortunately to say that parents now decided to surrender fully the supervision of their children to the school, because parents have already believed that school is the only one who can manage their children, and school is the only one who can overwatch their children. So parents usually give full control for the schools to maintain their children, and they give very little attention because they are usually coping with so many jobs in their when they are working. No, thank you. And now I'm going to try to give some holistical responses to what has been said by both opposition teams. So basically, the opposition teams are trying to champion the idea that actually the moral education in the status quo is enough. There is the existence of K13 curriculum and also the existence of mental revolution. Unfortunately, the thing that has been failed for them is that they didn't manage to explain the reason why these programs proposed by government is successful. And while the fact we say is that actually these programs are not success, because of what? Because K13 and mental revolution are only applied implicitly and integratedly within subjects and within programs. It will be more successful if the government apply moral education in a more explicit way by making it into different subjects. Unfortunately, since they didn't explain it, then the arguments didn't make it to prove to us. And lastly, the opposition team focus more on comparing between traditional and modern schools. First, this is not our scope of debate, because we are debating on whether actually the moral education is becoming deteriorating in modern schools, not comparing between traditional and modern schools. Now, since I have talked to you on the case, we believe that we should be apprehended and the motion should be opposed. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Adifta. Mr. Adifta, as the government whip has spent 5 minutes 30 seconds. 5 minutes 30 seconds. To summarize as well as to close the debate, I'd like to call the opposition whip, Ms. Nailul. Time's yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, what I have summarized from this debate is that the first is what I got is that the opening government team seems like they are dwelling in the past when they say that internet is a cause a cause of moral deteriorating. But we believe that internet is a part of human advanced critical thinking ability, ladies and gentlemen. So instead of we deny it as a part of our learning supporting tools or learning media, but then they are denying its existence of how internet is actually supporting the easiness and flexibility of our learning process, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we believe that education keeps developing. We cannot equalize the situations of our current educations with the educations in the era of Prophet Muhammad SAW. But they are just comparing of how education works in the Prophet Muhammad and in the current era. We believe that it is totally different. No, thank you. It's totally different because now we are living in digital era and we should embrace all the development of the technology. Well, the second thing is that from the opening government team, he blames about the individualistic character as the one of moral deteriorating. But I believe that it is actually leads to the situations of competitive learning, ladies and gentlemen. When the modern school using the ranking score, it will trigger the competitive learning. And of course, I believe that it is not actually moral deteriorating, and also it creates a what I believe that the opposite thing that should be moral decadence or moral deteriorating is that when the competitive learning situation is not created, so the students will not be motivated to do better. But with the system of ranking and ranking and score, it is the sign of how modern school will display or will motivate the students to always be the best in their study, ladies and gentlemen. And then the second, also, opening government team talks about internet dependence. Well, modern school use internet as a supporting learning media, as I have said. Never have internet belittle the role of teachers. Still, students are respecting teachers in the classroom, and still the teachers are the leaders in the classroom. Never have internet are empowering the classroom, ladies and gentlemen. And then when they say that internet is one of the cause of moral deteriorating, they are denying the easiness, the flexibility. They are denying the Quran verses on Surah Al-Baqarah 185. It says, "Allah intends you for ease and intends you for not intends you for hardships." So we should embrace that easiness, ladies and gentlemen. Yes.
Our current curriculum in the modern schools still implemented the system of score. We think to assess whether or not student can pass. This makes modern schools make students become score oriented. That it will justify the cheating and justify the instant way rather than the process of learning.
The opening government time is to generalizing of how students achieve the best score. Not all students cheating. Most students are actually working hard and studying hard for getting the best, for getting the best students, ladies and gentlemen. There are just two generalizings that all modern school students are cheating or doing plagiarisms, ladies and gentlemen. And also, and for the closing government teams, they are blaming full-day school as the cause of moral deteriorating. What is actually the place of full-day school become the moral deteriorating? Because the first is 6 hours learning is to explore students' potentials in extracurricular. So what is actually the place of moral deteriorating here, ladies and gentlemen? Well, what I summarize for my my opposition team is that why we should win this debate is that the first is we don't deny the success of modern school in producing excellent students and in producing a better quality of education than the past decade. And then the second, we recognize the meaning of modern school as a part of modernity, and modernity is a product of civilizations. Modern school is a product of human advanced critical thinking ability about how they keep exploring, how they keep developing in enhancing the quality of educations, ladies and gentlemen. And then the third one is that we recognize the existence of character educations. This actually showed explicitly in the national national curriculum. It is explicitly embedded in the national curriculum of modern educations. So we are truly embracing of how important the moral educations in the modern school, ladies and gentlemen. Our arguments is also believe that the responsibility is not by the hands of the modern school, but also the hands of the other factors. Even if moral deteriorating is happened to the students, it is not only the responsibility of the modern school is the one to blame, but maybe the other factors that such as environment and the other influence. So I believe that my oppositional team should win this debate. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ms. Nailul. As the opposition whip, Ms. Nailul spends 5 minutes, 28 seconds. 5 minutes, 28 seconds. By that, the debate is over. All the debaters can go back to their seat. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the next debaters, you may proceed directly to the stage and waiting for the adjudicators for the preparation. And for the record, ladies and gentlemen, member of the House, for all participants and officials and also other supporters and you know the viewers and audiences, please by any means do not approach the MC table, because we have a lot of scoring sheets that might be visible from your angle. So please keep in mind that these two tables, the MC tables and also the adjudicators table, are a sterile area. So if there is any questions that you might raise regarding the things related to the adjudicators or the MC, you may ask the committee to approach us. Thank you very much. Ma'am, shall we start? Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, member of the House, welcome to the preliminary round 2 of shift 6 of English debate competitions of MTKMN, the 15th of 2017, with the motions, this House believes that single-sex schools are good for students. The opening government is from Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama with Ms. Fitri as the Prime Minister and Mr. Akbar as the Deputy Prime Minister, while in the opening opposition we have Universitas Riau with Ms. Nadia as the leader of opposition, and Ms. Hastini as the deputy leader of opposition. Moving on to the closing debate, we have Universitas Trunojoyo as the closing government with Mr. Humaidi as the member of government, and also Mr. Atur as the right? As the government whip. Now the closing opposition, we have Universitas Islam Jember with Mr. Danang as the opposition member, and Ms. Saidah as the whip of the opposition. Without further ado, let's just proceed to the debate. I would like to call the first Prime Minister of the opening government, Ms. Fitri. Time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, today we will talk about the motion this house believes the single-sex school are good for the children. Nowadays, the type of the school in Indonesia is the kind of the homogeneous school or single-sex school or heterogeneous school. And then the most common fact in the day is many students interest to heterogeneous school. And the homogeneous school, with the reason they think that homogeneous school is bored. And we know many of the students think about that they must learn about the opposite sex further, and the more interest about the learning in the heterogeneous school. And then the first, I want to tell you about the definition of gender concept of social relationship that discuss things. The function of roles, man and woman, the difference of the function or role are determined because the biological and non-natural, but are different according the position functions are role in different areas of life and development. I am, as affirmative team, very support these motions. I have some point to deserve in you all. The first is about the achievement. As a result, that Cold Speak at Debate was published not long ago is a journal, Education's Next. The study stressed a student should be taught by the teacher who have some gender. According to the research, we have a teacher who same gender, we have more confident to study. And then the research was conducted by Thomas D., an economic professor at Seward College and the Stanford University, despite the pros and the across both. But they still believe that gender is influenced in the way the teacher teach. And homogeneous school have many advantages that can shape the character of the student. Among others, the creation of freedom of experience and expression of study, and to make them more active. Students in homogeneous school are same-sex, and so there is no limit to barriers for them to express themselves. And so interaction between students is more open in the heterogeneous school. And then in heterogeneous school, most students feel embraced if want to ask about the lesson. And for example, in biology lesson, if they study a problem of reproductions, they feel embraced if that school is heterogeneous school. And for the research, the student can more improve themselves in homogeneous school. In addition of the association, homogeneous school is more awake than heterogeneous school because there is opposite sex in the school, like in the heterogeneous school. In heterogeneous school is the possibility of free sex, dating, brawl, and the larger problem, etc. because of the freedom that create in the heterogeneous school. With the friend or female, then our female student homogeneous school can make it train to act independently and not depend on the opposite side. And according the case, more bullying case in heterogeneous school, because more bullying depends on racism about the gender. And then, in addition, for focus of student learning is also higher because not disrupt with opposite sex. And then the competition create even stronger if in the homogeneous school. Thank you for the time, and me from the opening government strongly have the point to have affirmative support these motions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Ms. Fitri. As the Prime Minister, Ms. Fitri spent 5 minutes and 8 seconds. 5 minutes and 8 seconds. Now moving on to the opposition. To open the case of oppositions, we invite Miss Nadia. Time is yours.
Check. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Firstly here, before I jump to my argument, I would like to give my rebuttal's point from my opening government bench. Firstly here, ladies and gentlemen, they are forgetting to tell you the status quo that happening. And then after that, they are forgetting to tell you about the urgency of this motion, ladies and gentlemen. And also, ladies and gentlemen, they are forgetting to tell you the goals why this motion should stand, ladies and gentlemen. And then by that, ladies and gentlemen, I completely saying that they direct us to nowhere implication for this motion, ladies and gentlemen. But there's some point by them, ladies and gentlemen, like they are supporting this motion because like they're telling you that express in the same sex, in the heterogeneous school, the student will be embarrassed, ladies and gentlemen, when it's coming into a private sex topics, ladies and gentlemen. As we know here, ladies and gentlemen, in learning, there's always we have to know about how the other sex comes out, like in menstruation or the other topics in biology, ladies and gentlemen. And they are keep telling you that in co-education school, ladies and gentlemen, that the free sex possibilities increasing, ladies and gentlemen. Well, here is not true, ladies and gentlemen. When student in the heterogeneous school, ladies and gentlemen, we are here, ladies and gentlemen. We are keep telling you that we are not gonna limit about the heterogeneous school itself, ladies and gentlemen. Like we will separate women and men share, ladies and gentlemen. Well, based on ayat Quran surat An-Nur ayat 30, Allah asks to His believers to keep what they what they see, and to keep bow their heads, ladies and gentlemen. Here's, ladies and gentlemen, Allah not tells you to separate women and men, ladies and gentlemen, because in real life, ladies and gentlemen, they have to cooperate with each other, ladies and gentlemen. Well, here's, ladies and gentlemen, based on research that do by Children Association, they claim, ladies and gentlemen, 3 from 5 children that come from the private school, from the same-sex schools itself, ladies and gentlemen, they hard to find they hard to cooperate with their opposite sex friends, ladies and gentlemen. Well, here, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to bring disadvantage for their work life, ladies and gentlemen, because we in life, ladies and gentlemen, in real life, in society, they're not just going to meet the people that have the same sex with them, ladies and gentlemen. Well, here, ladies and gentlemen, I will come to my point, ladies and gentlemen. First is in single sex. No, thank you. In co-ed education, ladies and gentlemen, we are believe here, ladies and gentlemen, with implement the limitation between men and women in that school, such as we are gonna separate the chair between men and women, ladies and gentlemen. The limit is there, ladies and gentlemen. The education will be efficiently, ladies and gentlemen, because school, ladies and gentlemen, we are believe school is not just the place to like educate science and math, ladies and gentlemen. In school, we are try to implement, and in here, ladies and gentlemen, the student will socializing with the other, ladies and gentlemen, not just with men and men or woman and woman, ladies and gentlemen. In here, they will try to accept the differences between gender and then religion and the other, such as culture, ladies and gentlemen. In here, ladies and gentlemen, if we can implement the rules about limiting the men and women in heterogeneous school, ladies and gentlemen, we are believe we can achieve the goals, ladies and gentlemen, when students not just can tolerant with the other gender, ladies and gentlemen, but they can also be more creative, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because when they are with the other gender, ladies and gentlemen, there's another way to think and solve a problem, ladies and gentlemen. So by that, ladies and gentlemen, they will try to accept and be more critical thinker, ladies and gentlemen. And we see right now in our country, critical thinker is impossibly to happen, ladies and gentlemen. And how could they say that how could they say single-sex schools gonna be good for education, ladies and gentlemen? And by that point, ladies and gentlemen, I am from the opening opposition, first speaker. I'm completely beg you to oppose this motion, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for Miss Nadia. The leader of opposition spent 5 minutes and 46 seconds. 5 minutes and 46 seconds. Now to extend the case of government, Mr. Akbar, time is yours.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable the Chairman, Judgment, and all of the participants today. Let me introduce myself. We are from the opening government. We wanted to rebound first about the opening opposition, about their opinion, and also the next we wanted to give you about our opinion. And the first is we want to understanding you again and explain you again about why we chose about this motion, because we want to support them and also encourage our abilities when they feel embracing in themselves. And also it's about to support, not to restrict them. Yes, because we know if the man with the man in one school, they also have some other power and also can give their abilities, all of their abilities. And when women meet with the other woman in the school, that also can make them giving all of the abilities in their time. And also they talk and explain about the good thing. They only talking about the good thing for the heterogeneous school, but we think there is some of the bad things also, such like when the man and woman coming together in one place, so they feel such a love, and also it make free sex and extra.
That point, sir.
No.
Please, before you go, sir.
No. The next is it's about the religious point of my view. Is about the difference between men and women cannot be denied because they have their own kadrat. The difference is at least in terms biological. The Quran reminds us, and do not be jealous of both which God bestowed on some of you more than some another. For men, there is part of what? Also, we don't guarantee that the multi-sex school, they are try, and for women, there is a part of what they are try, and ask God from some of His gifts. Truly, Allah knows everything. And from this, in this ayah, Allah was mentioning the man and the woman differently, that make conclusion, educate them with different place. And also, from the religions, Allah has said it. Also mentioned, we don't guarantee that the multi-sex school can defend, protect us from an abuse in sexual orientation.
On that point, sir.
Such like Allah have said to us, "Wala taqrabu zina innahu kana fahishatan wa sa'a sabilan." Al-Isra ayat 32. And from this thing, we have understand if Allah has told us we have to restrict ourselves to coming together in one place between man and the woman. Yes, because we know if the man and woman coming together in one place, many bad things can be happening at this time. And also about the benefit, about the benefit, in addition, the association in homogeneous school is more awake than the heterogeneous schools, because there is no opposite sex in the school. In a heterogeneous schools, the possibility of free sex, dating, delinquency, brawl, and other larger because of the freedom that is created there. And also with friends who are our female, then for a female student in homogeneous school can make it retrained to act independently and not dependent on the opposite sex. In addition, the student in learning is also higher because it is not disturbed by the opposite side. And also, I give you some of the fiqh, la dororo wala dirar. And Allah have said in some of Quran, if we have been commanded, if we must restrict about the dangerous thing, and we don't have to approach that. And also, studies have shown that women will be better off in homogeneous school than in the heterogeneous school. But both academically and self-concept. And also the absence of students of the opposite sex is a competing friend is an important thing in shaping of sexual identity and the individual work of the future. And the conclusion is we have to understand first about how Allah command us and also the benefit for this thing. And because of that, we are from the opening government very proud to agree with this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Mr. Akbar as the Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Akbar spent 4 minutes and 43 seconds. 4 minutes and 43 seconds. Now to extend the case of the negative, I would like to invite Ms. Hastini to come forward. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable adjudicators and ladies and gentlemen. First, before going to my statement, I want to rebuttal first the opening government. The opening government said about more homogeneous schools, more confident when they study. I want to challenge them to proving what side from you can tell that homogeneous schools will make the students become more confident when they study. So they think that on heterogeneous schools, the students cannot more confident when they study. The fact now that in heterogeneous schools can more competitive, and they cannot more prove how about their proving their competence in the outside. And the opening government forgot about the important point one of the opening government role. It's about, as my first speaker said, it's about they forget to give status quo and they forget to give the urgency of these cases and they forget to give the goals from these cases. And they said too that the heterogeneous schools giving bad things like a free sex and single sex will not give bad single sex. No, I'm sorry. They cannot prove that they cannot prove the real of the free sex that happen in the heterogeneous sex now, and they cannot guarantee that single sex will be success system in our country. That's the point one. And like we talk about our motions today, this house believes that single sex school are good for students. If we talk about the schools, it means we talk about the education. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know that the education is important, and the goals of the education is to create and to increase our students become good people, and then increasing the potential of human itself. Because by exploring the potential of human itself, it can give benefits to our life. And men and women need collaborated to need collaborated to increase and to maximize their potential to explore it. And how about if we do the system of the single sex, we don't give the chance to them to collaborate their potential. And after that, from Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that a mu'min with another mu'min like a building, and the part of them supporting another. Rasulullah said about the mu'min. Rasulullah said mu'min not classify between men and women. So if we do if in the heterogeneous schools they have big chance to explore the potential between men and women, they can maximize their potential by collaborating for them. And from Quran Surah An-Nur ayah 13 say that kullil mu'minina yaghuddu min absarihim wa yahfazu furujahum. Is that the meaning is tell the believing men to reduce same of their vision and guard their private parts that is pure for them. And as long if it can do, the heterogeneous can do to the reality, so it should not to be separated between the man and woman. And the benefit from the heterogeneous schools is it give benefit to prepare them to socialize in the social life and to prepare them to have knowledge about the socialize between men and women. And after that, we are the opposition team give the best solution. Even though in the heterogeneous schools we have the teacher, and the teacher become the main part to teach them about the barrier between men and women, and we have a family, and family role is can teach them about the man and woman. We are from the opposition team oppose this motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for Miss Hastini. Miss Hastini spent 6 minutes, 9 seconds. 6 minutes, 9 seconds. Now, starting the closing debate, we are going to invite Mr. Humaydi as the member of government. Time is yours.
check. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Before I begin to my argumentations, I would like to address some points that that have opening oppositions have stated just now. The opening opposition states the first point is that by holding what also called as co-educational schools, they provide or say that the students can socialize with the others. And then I provide maybe two considerations on this point. The first is the socializations or socializings the students, and then the second one, what have mentioned just now by the government doing so many forbidden things or forbidden relations. Which one should we choose? I will give you the postulate. إذا تعارض المفسدتان أخذ أخوفهما. If if there is two mafsadat, then choose the easiest one. So by having co-educational schools, it is we should not do. The socialization is not so good for the students. And then the second one, the opening oppositions also address that one hadith that Muslim men and women are in one is like a building. I will ask you that you do not tell the azabul wurud of the hadith, and then you do not also mention who tells the hadith, and then the hadith the hadith is generalized. There is no specifications. So if you use the hadith to generalize or to specify something generalized, general, it will be useless. Now going back to my argumentations, that since the educations or single sex education school is intended to increase the knowledge of the students. Then if they are focusing if they are combined between men and women, the students, they will fall the focus of the process of the teaching and learning. No distractions. There will no distraction between the student. By focusing on the process of learning, the intentions of the school will be achieved. No thanks. Now, I would like to clarify two things here. The first is the intentions of the educations in school is to achieve the knowledge, while the knowledge is categorized as the lights of Allah. As what is said, al-ilmu nurun wa nurullahi la yu'ta lil ma'asi. Here, a knowledge is the light, and the meaning of nurullah is the light of Allah. Then the second one is the last word of the word la yu'ta lil ma'asi. Knowledge or the light will not be given to the sinner. As what the government have said just now, it is the kinds of protecting the students into getting further to the sins. Then since I would like to point this word al-ma'asi with the sinner, in which if the co-educational school is conducted, they will bring the students into having the forbidden relations. Since the secondary school assumes to do sins by having so many relations, in school which conducted mixed sex educations, so single sex educations is the solutions. Then I would like to tell you another proof that the single sex education is good for educations. The first, I would like to go back to the history. In the era of the Khalifa Abbasiyah, there are in that period is called as the age of the golden age of knowledge, in which so many scholars are produced in that time. By having the understanding of that story, it means that the the single sex education is better, is good for education. Single sex school is good for education. As what the story said, that the schooler is the process of teaching and learning of the schooler is is separated between men and women of the students. Then I will address also in this in this country that so many schools that conduct the single sex education or single sex school, they are producing so many students which is good for the country. For example, Gontor and any other boarding school that that produce single sex education. So that's by that reason this house believes that single sex education are good for educations. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Mr. Humaydi. Mr. Humaydi, as the member of government, spent 5 minutes and 40 seconds. 5 minutes and 40 seconds. Now to open the case of closing opposition, I would like to invite Mr. Danang as the opposition member. Time is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, again and again about the free sex appear today. But before of all, we talk about this kind of motions, about this house believe that single-sex school are good for educations. But before of all, we like to rebut what have been spoken at the first speaker, especially the opening government and also the closing government, where free sex, they bring about the free sex today. How can it be? It is in other cases. It is not about a juvenile delinquency. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about educations. What curriculum you use today, and where we should implement it. We live in Indonesia, are implemented our curriculum 2013. Do you learn about the curriculum 2013? That is a big question, actually. Opening government actually has already rebut the speaker about the goal and urgency, whereas the closing government tried to bring this kind of motions. How can it be? What kind of rule, especially toward the closing government, where actually it is a kind of a systematic, opening government a time to have a urgency and also the goal of this kind of motions. The closing government actually have already stated that in order to this kind of motions, in order to be appear and clearly. And the closing government will like to rebut you, especially toward the socializations. Socialize means have a meaningful of society or student based on Oxford Dictionary. Do you ever learn about the social? This means one word is have meaningful, not only one meaning in this kind of dictionary. And also, here, what we have to talk about the single-sex school. You haven't learned about the single-sex school itself. Single-sex school is a man and woman and woman. It's not talking about the free sex. It's not about the juvenile delinquency. Second of all, you have learned or maybe believed that this kind of motion where single-sex school are good for educations, but you don't think about the good itself. Based on Oxford Dictionary, a good have no useful of effect. Because it is unclear of good. You have to decide what kind of good itself. Maybe you can bring a good single-sex school, it can make a boast of the ability, but you don't tell the example. Second of all, talking about education is a teaching and learning process that conducted by the school and also the systematic of the teacher. Curriculum is conducted by the teacher and also a system to have a teaching learning process in order to be running away. Based on the Imam Hanafi, which find to be a gather either a man or woman in the school itself. Do you think that in Mecca and also another country which is Islam, they learn about man and man only or woman and woman only? They are not, ladies and gentlemen. And let me ask you actually, ladies and gentlemen, is your school implement the single sex? And do you ever think, and do you ever think about the homo and the lesbian sex? Well, do you learn about these kind of motions? How can it be? Therefore, we as the closing opposition try to bring the argumentation already break, especially to the opening opposition itself by the first speaker and second speaker, where they have already bring the argumentations about they have a nice socialized feeling. Second of all, about the competitive feeling, and the third is about ability. Why they have a nice sociality feeling, sociality feelings? Because in now today fact, university and school, you have learned. And let me ask you, are your school implement this kind of motions? Or I think not today. Because today Indonesia is democracy. Even they are implemented with this kind of motions, they are maybe regulated like in Islamic boarding school. But you don't bring this kind of motions to where we have to implement this kind of motions. Thank you. And also, why the argumentation broke by the opening oppositions to the competitive feeling? Because of why man and woman, because they have a low feeling. Every single people have a low feeling. We are not far away from that because we are human. Ability, talking the ability of somebody who are learning about the English, about the math, and so on and so forth, because of feeling appear to the school itself. Do you have a love toward the girl? And what kind of a love you have? One of big reasons because of they have a love, because sometimes they need a supporter by the girl. They need supported by the girl in order the educations to be running well instead of the school itself. Therefore, we don't believe that this motion should be single-sex school, that it makes educations good because you have no statistic data. Thank you very much.
Thank you for Mr. Danang as the opposition member. Mr. Danang spent 5 minutes and 22 seconds. 5 minutes and 22 seconds. Now to close the case of the government, I would like to invite Mr. Atur as the government whip. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, before I go to my arguments, I would like to summarize the whole process of this debate, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, from the government bench, we would like to agree that the single-sex schools is better or good for the students and educations for after considering to avoid the free sex and also avoid the cross-gender distractions between the students. While the opening bench assist us with their statements, because by conducting a single-sex schools, we will limit the students to cooperate and socialize with the opposite gender. That's the two main points that I get from this debate. Well, first, let's move on to the arguments given by the opening bench, said that the single-sex schools can avoid us to to maintain or avoid the free sex, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. First, let us see the status quo of today's era, ladies and gentlemen. The free sex are widely happening in Indonesia, and that's one of the examples. That is caused by the co-educational sex students, ladies and gentlemen, or the heterogeneal school, ladies and gentlemen. And they claim that by conducting single-sex school, they will limit the students to socialize with the other. Well, we talk about schools, we just limit the students to communicate with their opposite sex only in the school, while they can still freely to communicate or socialize with the opposite sex outside the schools, ladies and gentlemen. In school, we are just learn the materials or the lessons given by the lecturer, not to socialize. If you want to socialize with the other, you can socialize with the other. You can socialize with the other outside the schools, and you can do it. More freely, ladies and gentlemen. That's the point that should be catched in this debate, ladies and gentlemen. Well, move on to my argument, ladies and gentlemen. One thing that we should highlight here, there are three main things that we should consider in conducting teaching and learning process, ladies and gentlemen. The first is that the comfortability, the second is that the concentration or the focus, and the last is the velocity of the learning, ladies and gentlemen. Why I said these three kinds of elements is very important, because the comfortability of the students is the most important thing that we should consider in teaching and learning process. If the comfortability of the students can be granted, it will foster the teacher to convey all the lessons and materials to the students more effectively. That's why the comfortability is very important. And comfortability can be distracted by the system of co-educational school. Why I said so? Because when there are two opposite sex gathered in one chamber, they will attract each other. Yeah. When their emotion is attracted by each other, for example, men attracted by women, they will lose their focus, ladies and gentlemen. They will not concentrate to their lessons. Yeah. So instead of getting the lessons, they will just thinking about the other things. They will think about their opposite sex, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why the comfortability of the students is is distracted, ladies and gentlemen. And the second is that girls is commonly and more frequently intimidated by the boys students, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why we do
urgent point, sir, please.
No thanks.
4 minutes, sir.
So that's why the co-educational school is not clearly effective in teaching and learning process, in education, not in the socializations, ladies and gentlemen. And also the same with concentration, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it will ruin the student concentration if they lose their focus because of the attractions of their focus, ladies and gentlemen. And just like what has been stated by the opening bench, it will also conducting co-educational sex schools. It will it's just like one way of approaching zina or adultery, because the attractions generate between the cross gender, it will attracting their patients to make love with the other. So that's why it will generate a free sex, ladies and gentlemen. And the last important thing is that the velocity of the learning. According to the American Psychological Association, the result of the research according to American Psychological Associations, girls are learning faster than boys, not smarter, but learning faster than boys. So if we conduct the co-educational schools, the boys will be demoralized because they feel that that girls are outnumbering them, because girls learn faster than men. So that's why conducting this kind of co-educational schools, it will generate more more bad impact rather than positive one. So that's why, as the good government, we beg you to propose these motions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Mr. Atur as the government whip. Now to open the case of the opposition as well as to close the debate, Ms. Aida as the opposition whip, time is yours.
Okay, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, respectable educators and all members inside of the house. I do support this motion because single-sex schools are good for education. Do you believe that for the opening government team has already said that teachers have the same in the gender? Do you have any kind of solution of that? Because is there any limitation between women and men to teach the children or share their language? Whereas in the Holy Quran, ladies and gentlemen, has already stated that there is no differences between man and woman. They only his or her taqwa to Allah. And then they bring that the single sex school are influence the morality of the student. Where we know, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. First, then they have just stay with man and man, woman and woman. They have no solidarity and helping each other. Where we know man has another idea and a girl has also another idea. First, then they have go together, go hand in hand. So means that they can share their idea. Thank you. And then also, first then men and women are more, they said that first then men will only talk, and men are getting together, they will be more effective. To have any kind of research of that, please show me where have you been doing research before you say that this is more effective. Thank you. You may sit down to your place. And then also, the single sex, they said that the single sex is increased the student achievement. I don't really believe that this kind of motion will give you this point. And also, for the closing, government has already go out from this case where we talk about the single-sex school, but your point is talking about your limitation on how you are not going hand with your group itself. And also, let's get down to my point. Gender-based school is not benefit for students. Why? Why I say so, ladies and gentlemen? There is no sorting between men and women to learn, where they have a same right to learn, to have a knowledge. And then, men and women has different ideas. In Holy Quran has already said that, A'udhu billahi minasyaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kama anzalna 'alal mustaqimin alladhi ja'alul Qur'ana 'indin wa rabbika lanas'alannahum ajma'in. And the meaning, Allah will give the risks for the one who do sorting and doing differences. And then, let's get down to my point for the second point of mine. For a sensitive boy, thank you, you may sit down. For a sensitive boy and sensitive girl, the teachings that are promoted and advocate single-sex education could be not be ineffective. And also, students, because they have no solidarity, competitive feeling means here between men and women. If they are say in some school where, but I will ask you before I answer my point, your point, I will ask you, do you live in university that you are the only man? Do you, where I think that here, as you know, there are many kind of university where it is excess of men or women. Do you believe that the morality is getting increased? Or first then the man and men are always saying together the achievement will be good? No, you don't have any kind of reserve of this. And also, some research has reported that single education do not good for students. It is caused by educational prospect of educational both, but it tends to reinforce gender stereotype. Stereotype mean itself is there is no differences. There is no differences where first then they have already go out from the school. They will face another people, means that they will leave men, or men will face the woman. I mean, in the social environment, first then the only men and men, woman and woman, they will be shocked. First then they have already go out from the school because they have no experience about that. And also, in the Holy Quran has already said that first then women and men has a same right to look for the education, where Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yarfa'illahu alladhina amanu minkum walladhina utul ilma darajat wallahu bima ta'maluna khabir. It is stated in Al-Mujadalah in 11 that Allah will raise who is faithful, who look for the knowledge and also Allah will raise the position. And ladies and gentlemen, I do not talk only about the negative point of the sex school, but I will give you some solution that we live in humanizing, where men and women are going together to share good idea, to have a knowledge. And also, I really emphasize again and again that single sex school is not good for students because they need to adapt to another. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for Ms. Saida as the opposition whip. Ms. Saida spent 5 minutes and 44 seconds. 5 minutes and 44 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, member of the House, this is the end of the debate. For the debaters, you may back to your seat, and by this I hereby close this round. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. For the next participant, you may directly go to your position in the stage. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone, the debaters, the honorable adjudicators, and also all of the audiences. Welcome to the preliminary 2, shift 7 of the English debate competitions of MTKMN 2015. The motions for this debate is this House will limit the use of smartphone in campus, with opening government is from Stikas RS Anwar Medica with Miss Anissa as the Prime Minister and Miss Kurnia as the Deputy Prime Minister, while on the opening opposition we have Universitas Muhammadiyah Riau with Miss Vivi as the Leader of Opposition and Mr. Ricky as the Deputy Leader of Opposition. In the closing debate we have closing government from Universitas Palangkaraya with Mr. Hussein as the Member of Government and Miss Niti as the Government Whip, while the closing opposition we have Polytechnic Lauksomawe with Mr. Aulia, as the opposition member, and Mr. Rifki as the opposition whip. Without further ado, I would like to invite the Prime Minister, Miss Anissa. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Here I, as first speaker from the opening government, we will talk about this household that limit the use of smartphone in the campus. Okay, the first we will talk about what is the meaning from the smartphone and what is the function of the smartphone. And the second, we will talk about how to use smartphone in the campus that related with this motion. And the third, we will talk about why we don't use a facility in the campus, maybe like library or the other. Okay, we know if smartphone is an important thing for everyone. Smartphone is a connector for everyone to get a news or others. If you know from Holy Quran, Surah Al-Hujurat, chapter 49, verse 13, A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dzakarin wa unsa wa ja'alnakum syu'uban wa qabaila lita'arafu inna akrakum indallahi atqakum innallaha alimun khabirun. That said, hey, for the faith people, actually Allah created you from the man and the woman to know each other. And we know we can do it from the smartphone because it can simplicity. But from this content, not right if we apply in the campus, because in my opinion, we can know to know each other, to know everyone each other. We can use organization, because campus is a temple to build characters. And if we just stay with the smartphone, we just know the people by chat, not real. Actually, smartphone have a limit to use, because smartphone just not give more advantage, but we see from disadvantage too. And if we see Allah dislike if the human do something that given disadvantage. So why we as the human must to know each other, but we can do it just not from the smartphone. Here we as the government just make a regulated to limit the use of smartphone, no ban. So why we related this surah with this motion? We know if we as the human so sure need society in our life, and from that we can conclude if we will build characters in the campus with join with organization. Here we can relate this surah with the tafsir Al-Quran and Asbabun Nuzul. From Hadith of Hisham said, if Muhammad found someone else expect a raven black, these words are intended to share bad things is Bilal, because of the color of the skin Bilal is black. Then comes the angel Gabriel told the messenger of what they have done. So get off this paragraph which forbids man to boost that his position, to agree his weight, birth and the poor. Explain that the glory of the associated with pity, because what distinguishes human side of God is of pity. The Babun Nuzul narrated by Abu David about the event that occurred to neighbor Abu Hindin. From that we can know if we live should appreciate everything from some people else and must know to each other, and that's we can do with smartphone. But we can use smartphone so realize in the campus area. And once again, we don't ban to use smartphone in the campus, but we just limit to use the smartphone. So that we know timing to use and where we can use it. From that, I say, I as the government, I agree with this motion because it will give advantage for you, maybe about your health, a health like that can, and the other we can build a real relation. And next we can build a good relation just not from smartphone. The third about process of study, because from the motion limited about how can we use the smartphone in the campus will be restrictive for us if we feel so bored, and we will we will run to the using of smartphone. That's about why we as the government should give limit smartphone in the campus. And last, here if the government talk about the organization, if sure it will if it will need a smartphone, but we must give understand outside of campus. Not so in my opinion, organization is the best way to overcome the problem of motion in this debate. It's not about who is the winner or who is the loser, but who can give the best solution that can give for advantage. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for Ms. Anissa as the Prime Minister. Ms. Anissa spent 5 minutes and 45 seconds. 5 minutes and 45 seconds. Now to open the case of the negative, I would like to invite Ms. Vivi as the leader of opposition. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm standing here from opposition team. I will rebut for government statement. They said just now that smartphone not giving much advantage for us, but they don't explain to us really what the government team not explain detail about what is the not advantage for us, because we know that smartphone surely that giving us much advantage. Then I will explain you what is the advantage if use smartphone in campus. So in here I have 5 arguments that I will clarify to you. For the first argument that about using smartphone in the campus for losing the loneliness. That is the first argument. For the second argument that about smartphone easily get and respond fastly about information about important announcement in the campus area. For the third point that about smartphone is tools that support of developing in study. And for the fourth that about help to search information in study, which nothing in book. And for the last argument that about to make student more active and productive. So for the first argument that about to loss of loneliness, of course, usually we stand out in the queue that in the canteen for waiting our order, our food to eat. But when we wait our order, we use our smartphone to lose our loneliness. That's right. Usually, I think all the students in the campus using smartphone in the canteen when we still waiting our order. That's right. And then for the second point that about smartphone easily get and respond about important announcement in the campus area. That's right. Of course, yes. It is will not wrong argument, because for the example that about we know line application. Line is one of the application usually used by all the students, and we know this application that can make member in one group till 100% in that group in line application. So from smartphone we can get information around the campus from line application. That the advantage of using smartphone in the campus. So I hope government not limit using the smartphone in the campus. And for the third point that about smartphone is tools that support of developing in study. Of course, yes, in here I have Al-Quran had said in Surah Toha, verse 114. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim wa qul rabbi zidni ilma. The mean that, please said Muhammad, please aid our saints to me. That mean from the surah show us we use the smartphone to get much information to aid our science. This is smartphone is the best tool to developing our country. And also we have, and also in Surah Az-Zumar verse 9 that said, A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim, Qul hal yastawil ladzina ya'lamuna wal ladzina la ya'lamun. The meaning is that said is same
between people which know and the people doesn't know. I will ask from the data that we know, the student that use smartphone for getting information, I think more productive than the student not using the smartphone for getting information, especially for study. So in here, don't limit smartphone in the campus. And also in here, I have the data that in Pakistan country said about internet, it means smartphone, because if you use smartphone, I think we use internet too. That said, internet is great need according in Pakistan. And in Pakistan, there are 300 million internet subscribers that are growing every day. And the categories that are united with the access to internet are about research, students, and universe, and the others, the ejectram. So in here, Pakistan said the using smartphone is really developing for the student, can developing our study. And that's all my point about this motion, and really proud to perform. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Ms. Vivi. As the leader of opposition, Ms. Vivi spent 5 minutes and 23 seconds. 5 minutes and 23 seconds. Now, to extend the case of the government, I would like to invite Ms. Kurnia as the Deputy Prime Minister. Time is yours.
Thanks for this motion. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This motion is, this House would limit the use of smartphone in campus. From opening opposition, we know its smartphone can relate with the internet, but you don't think what will happen if smartphone free to use in campus. Maybe like raining process. And if we see from Quran Surah Ar-Rum chapter 30 verse 41, that is, Daharul al-fasadu fil al-bari wal-bahri bima kasabat aydin nas liyudzi kauhum bi'da aladzi amilu alailahum yarji'un. That mean is, has been visible damage on the ground and in the ocean forehand, so that Allah freed to them some of research their deeds, so they back to the next way. From this surah, we know if smartphone is the one of all that can bring over country like environment and moral of young generation, and Allah doesn't like it. So why we ask the humans still held by smartphone? Why we don't use facility in the campus, like maybe like a root book to search knowledge in global? The second you can do must go to read Holy Quran, right? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we know smartphone is a tool using for a lot of people and has a function that is very useful. Smartphone can help human towards studying, especially in the school, and use it for school, and very important to find the subject matter what is used to the learning system. Smartphone restriction on campus is a good idea to limit the student who concentration hear distraction during the hours of subject because smartphone. Ladies and gentlemen, smartphone used to be taken with university students wherever they go, especially in the campus. As docent was teaching, it will be made student lose in concentration. While learning, therefore, we need to limit the smartphone in the area of campus. No thanks. to limit accession of the use of her unlimited smartphone. In the smartphone in the class, as a lesson started, we know that using the smartphone will be closed and I just want to use the smartphone at all activity. It made him could not communication with friends other. The campus should be able to limit use of a smartphone so that students can be interaction with a good and silaturahim can awake. So I am agree for this motion for limit the use of smartphone in campus that all students can interact directly with other people. In Holy Quran, chapter Al-Hujurat, at 6, says, "Dear people, we have created you from a man and a woman and a family and nation for you to know each other." And this chapter, Islam taught used to acknowledge other as other. Do not use the just smartphone. Do not use the just smartphone. Obviously, because as human at the ending should be able to interaction directly with other people. So I am agree for this motion. Limit the use of the smartphone in campus. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Ms. Kurnia as the Deputy Prime Minister. Ms. Kurnia spent 4 minutes and 40 seconds. 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Now, to extend the case of the opposition side, I would like to invite Mr. Riki as the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before I jump to my point of my argument, I will try to rebut the statement from government. They said that the smartphone can break our generation. It is wrong statement because my friend before said that just now in Surah Toha we have to get science. You can get science from the anywhere. For example, you can get the science in smartphone and internet. So I think this is the wrong statement from the government, from the opening government. So the government also said that because the smartphone will be make silaturahim be weak because using smartphone. So I think the smartphone is not make our silaturahim be weak, because we can make a relationship, the best relationship with the smartphone. We can know more about the friendship relationship to get know more about the friend with the smartphone. So I think like that. In here, I will try to explain my point of my argument. The first point is how to search any information in study which is nothing in book or book which not yet know the material. Okay, if the students at the campus, I will try to explain you that if you studying at the campus, ladies and gentlemen, if the students at the campus is studying with the lecture, they can get material easily with the smartphone. So, and also you can get any material, any subject about you're studying in class easily and quickly. So, in this point, I will try to explain you that this is the good way for a student and the lecture, because the student can get easily any information about the lesson, about the material they are studying in the class. So I think they also can saving their time. They are not wasting time, because the smartphone will be help you full to get any information, any education, any subject while you are studying in the class. So at the second point is to make students more active or productive in the science, so easy to explore the science entire the world in all sides. So I think I said that if the students, if the in the university use the smartphone, you know, we as the student in the university can explore our skill, so we can also get any information, any science, and I think this is the smartphone will be help you to get help you to explore your skill and explore anything about the science. So I think like that. And you know, in Islam also said the time is world. That means if you waste your time, of course that the time will kill you. So you have to saving your time. You have to use full. You have to use full your time, because the time is important in our life. So I really strongly believe that in my point, in my argument, because the smartphone really need for the student in the campus. I proud to perform. So thank you.
Thank you for Mr. Ricky. As the deputy leader of opposition, Mr. Ricky spent 3 minutes and 42 seconds. 3 minutes and 42 seconds. Moving on to the closing debate, we have Mr. Hussein as the member of government. Time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, before I want to introduce myself. I'm the member of the government from the Causing Government bench on the government team. We're debating under the motion this House would limit the use of smartphone in campus. We as the government team really agree, because as our opening government said already, there's a lot of harm that caused because of smartphone. The harm is, since let's we see the motion first. The limit of use of smartphone in campus, as our point of view, means that the students who not use the phone properly in time, in where. We agree, since most of the people has done some abuse, time abuse to the time where we should use our smartphone. Some of the people doesn't use the smartphone properly. As we can see, there's people who bored in the class when learning. So when he or she has a moment, they take their smartphone to relieve their boredness and sleepy, because they're bored of the learning process. Of course, not all of the students do that, but there is, right? That's why this case open. We deal with those who not use the smartphone properly. And also, I want to rebut the opposition team. They said that the smartphone is the best tool to develop our country. Government also thinks that the best tool aside the smartphone is also books. We already know wisdom words from out there is book is the window of knowledge, not smartphone. It's window of knowledge. We already do that, and we see that in Indonesia there's a low rate of readers, since most of our people, most of people are lazy to read. And how come? And also they're talking about the students who taking information from the smartphone is productive, but how that can be productive? Well, since our people is too lazy to read, and so when they get assignments and they search from the internet, what they do? Did they read or not? No. They copy and paste it into their assignments. Please see the reality. Of course, not all of us is pass the material from the internet into our assignment, but also there is, right? We're talking about that. That's why we're talking about those people who not using smartphone properly. And it was as said in Al-Qur'an Al-Mutafifin ayat 1, Wailul lil mutaffifin. This ayah told that it is very bad to cheat. And we also have to be honest. As stated in Surah Al-Hujurat, ayah 15, Innama mu'minuna allazina amanu billahi wa rasulihi summa lam yartabu. The real mu'min is those who believe in Allah and Rasul and they never hesitate. But those people who copy and paste the material from internet, did they believe in Allah and Rasul will help them to the assignment? Of course not. They hesitate. That's why they search it, and they not even learn the material. They just copy. No, thank you. They copy the text from it. And we're not saying that using smartphone is not useful, but using smartphone not in the right time, in the right place, like in the middle of learning process, in break time, that is the one is unuseful. That's why we do in this case. Also the opening opposition said that you can get any information about smartphone. Did you sure that the learners will get knowledge from that? As we know, also books, we have to rely on books also. There's a lot of things that is written on books, but that isn't written on internet, because the information of internet, not 100% we can trust it. The one we can trust it is the real one with real classified, is in a very specific classified from books. And that's why we agree with this motion, because of those problems about it. The problem who not using smartphone properly, in the right time, in the right place. And that's all from us, the government. That's all. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for the member of government. Mr. Hussein spent 5 minutes and 20 seconds. 5 minutes and 20 seconds. Now, Mr. Aulia, as the member of opposition, time is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Limit the use of smartphone in campus. The government side of the house, gentlemen, doesn't give us any urgency situation of this kind of motion. So, what for that we were gonna do kind of this debate, ladies and gentlemen? They doesn't give us they doesn't give any improvement why we have to limit this kind of smartphone in campus, because the urgency right now in the status quo right now in the whole campus, in the whole world, using smartphone in campus is still normally. There is no more accident or no more cases that happen in campus itself, ladies and gentlemen. So I think the government side of the house doesn't give any urgency situation to us why we should limit this smartphone in the campus, and that's first of all. And then I want to give a rebuttal from the opening government side of the house. They said that why we want to limit this kind of smartphone, they want to build a character of the student in the campus itself. As we all know, to build the character in the campus, not with the limit of the smartphone. To build the character of on the campus itself is with given any such as a socialization to the lecture and on all the stuff on the campus itself, and not with the limit of the smartphone itself. Because we all know that including of smartphone itself, there must be an internet, ladies and gentlemen, and the mean of internet is the biggest knowledge ever in this world, ladies and gentlemen. So why we just limit the knowledge that we want to get in our campus? If we want to get more knowledge for that, ladies and gentlemen. And the second one, they say that want to create the warmness on communication between the human, ladies and gentlemen. Instead of that, let's think what's the function of a smartphone. First of that, the smartphone itself being a function for the communication, and then from the looking for source of knowledge. As we all know, this kind of motion is happen, and they want to apply this kind of motion on campus. As we know that campus and school is very different, ladies and gentlemen, which is the campus is the mean of the people who already get who already can to choose which one the better and which one the bad one and which one the good one, ladies and gentlemen. And they will know which are the wisely deciding to them, ladies and gentlemen. And then they say that what gonna happen if we are using smartphone in campus? They asking about the ambiguous question. They ask about what gonna happen if we use smartphone in campus without giving an urgency. What is happen if the smartphone is very freely using in campus? Because in nowadays in the status quo right now, smartphone is very useful to using in campus. And then the closing government say that there must be gonna happen like a copy paste file or something like that, or research knowledge from the internet itself. As we know that again, a campus and school is very different, which is the campus need the internet to find more knowledge, not like a school, ladies and gentlemen. The school is very limitation, but the campus itself is very freely to use it. And let's go into my argument, ladies and gentlemen. The urgency right now is the situation on the campus itself is very normally with using the smartphone, ladies and gentlemen. And if we just apply this kind of motion, we have to think what's gonna happen with the lecture itself, ladies and gentlemen. If they are limited to using a smartphone and they doesn't get information from their own staff on that campus, they will not know where is the position of that, ladies and gentlemen. And we have to consider what gonna happen if the lecturer is very cannot to protect themselves to be more diligent to pretend in the campus itself, ladies and gentlemen. And the second one, how about the lecturer that give them an online tales, like commercial such as like an application that my opening opposition say that such as an application that like Edmodo that it's already we can create a communication and we can to share the knowledge each other in that, and the third one, if we just give this limitation to the student and there is no more respect between them, and the student itself will use the smartphone secretly, and that can create awareness between the student and the lecturer itself. And if we just give this kind of motion, the student doesn't get a respect from the academic, from the lecturer itself. Because in Al-Quran has said that in hadith of Muhammad Rasulullah SAW, lam yakun min baina sya'i alladhina la yahtarimuna kibarahum wa la yuhibbul alladhina hum asghar minha wa la ya'rifuna huquq sahrah, which mean that every human race in the whole world must be respect each other, ladies and gentlemen. And who doesn't respect each other, that's not one of the Prophet Muhammad said, ladies and gentlemen. So I think this kind of motion is very ambiguous because they has failed to bring this kind of motion, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for Mr. Aulia as the opposition whip. The opposition members spent 5 minutes and 38 seconds. 5 minutes and 38 seconds. Now, to close the case for the government side, I would like to invite Miss Niti as the government whip. Miss Niti, sorry, Mr. Rifki, is it not your time? Thank you very much.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, first I would like to introduce myself. I am the government whip from the closing government. So here, based on our motion that this house would limit the use of smartphone in the campus. Before I jump, and I would like to tell you about my arguments. So here I would like to rebuttal from the leader of opposition and deputy leader of the leader of opposition and from opening opposition. So here, they said that you are need the improvement that I have said from my partner that he said that if we cannot lie that every campus will be do the cheat, and then we always are doing something using a smartphone and abuse committed. Example for when we are doing examination, the teacher don't know, they should know if we may using our smartphone to copy paste or and then write something the answer from internet. So actually this country need the lot of people that really honest and using the books as the window of the knowledge. And then you said that we are not talking about socialization, sorry. And then you said the smartphone always help us for explore and then using, looking for something information that related with our campus. So what the function of library? Library in our campus is a function, and we are looking for a lot of books there. And there are a lot of article that not written in the smartphone but written in the books. And then, well, I would like to tell you about my argument. So here, this house would limit the use of smartphone in the campus. So I really agree with the motion because of what? We know together that Indonesia is a development country that really need a lot of progress for the student that will be more independent. And then, so here, if this motion will be applied to our country, we know together that they have a lot of positive impact. Ladies and gentlemen, so I would like to tell you about there a lot of positive impact. That is, first, it would like to increase the spirit of the study of the student who want to learn without smartphone. Actually, they will be learn so hard before they get the examination, and then it will be make and increase the willingness to read the books, so it will be giving a lot of positive impact, and then it could be giving the result that the student in Indonesia will be more honest and will be independent. So here's a really same with the Al-Quran, Surah An-Nisa ayat 58, that is, A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna nasi antahkumu bil adli innallahi ni'ma ya'idukum bihi innallaha kana sami'am al-amri minkum fa in tanaza'tum fi sya'in farudduhu in ilallahi war rasuli in kuntum tu'minuna billahi wal yaumil akhir zalika khairu wa ahsanu ta'wil. It does mean that, in the meaning that is, verily Allah commands that you should rather back the trust who those to whom they are due, and that no thank you, and you judge between man and you judge with justice. Verily how excellent, no thank you, is the teaching which He Allah gives you. Truly Allah is ever all hearer, all seer. It does mean that based on this ayat Al-Quran that I bring that it tells us how to we need the justice here. We need to see the struggle of Indonesian student that will be independent and will be justice and will be fair and will be have a big potential to not only think about something will be going to the smartphone, but we also need the books. Okay, and ladies and gentlemen, so it is really same with the hadith that I would say that. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. An Abi Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam min husni islamil mar'i tarkumu ma la ta'nihi. It does mean that among Allah that signs of one Islamic goodness that is leaves a useless thing. So in this hadith also told us about something that the way, the Islamic right way for us that will be come to the goodness way if we not only think about the smartphone that always help us, but we should be think about the book and the facilities that relative with book that we should be used. And then ladies and gentlemen, so if this motion will be applied in our country and this the government, so I believe that the student of Indonesia will be has a big potential and will be had a big spirit to learn together more and make this lot of the change for our country that Indonesia. That's all my agreement. Thank you very much for the time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for Miss Niti as the government whip. Miss Niti spans 5 minutes and 17 seconds. 5 minutes and 17 seconds. Now to close the case of the opposition as well as to end the debate, I would like to call Mr. Rifki as the opposition whip. Time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This house will limit the use of smartphone in campus. First of all, I want to rebut from the government team. I want to make some important notes that the status quo from this motion itself, that there is no cases from the using smartphone. So what is the benefit for that we limit the smartphone in the campus itself? That's it, the status quo. And then I want to rebut again. They did not explain which one of the limitation itself. Is it the college, the lecture, or the office worker in that campus itself? There is no limitation. What kind of limitation that you want to limit itself? And then they did not explain the limitation of using smartphone, and they did not explain it again which limitation of smartphone itself. Is that the smartphone that some of student, lecturer, and office worker use for chat, or is that some of student and other using the smartphone for searching the knowledge and then the information such as other? And then, as we know, that you just say that limit smartphone in our country, especially the developing country, Indonesia itself. Okay, and then you say that, but I want to rebut developing country, in which mean developing country. We know that we are Indonesia developing country, and then we want to limit the using smartphone in the campus in Indonesia. You see that in the developed country itself, in all of university, in all over the world, in which mean that developed country, no thank you, developed country already using smartphone, be it the college and then the lecture and then the office worker itself. They use the smartphone, and then to getting the information from that no thank you, from that the university. And then as we know, they will not use the microphone to tell the student some of the information to all of the student. No thank you, they won't tell that. So as we know, in the school that they use the microphone to tell some of the information. But in this situation, we know that the campus itself is really big, so big. Especially, and then this time we are in Indonesia, we take this to Indonesia, we know that all campus in Indonesia is really big. So if we use this microphone itself, will be it heard from the other college that is from the corner side or the other side? Will they heard the information itself? Of course not. For that situation that we have, we cannot limit the using of smartphone in the campus itself. That's it from me. And then as we know that we, just like I said before, they cannot getting the information. As we know, in this time that there is the connection of the internet is really big, so big that as we know, especially just like my closing opposition already said, that some of the lecture itself already using the electronic examination itself in the smartphone itself. So as we know, in this situation, the electronic itself, especially the smartphone, is already using by the lecture itself, which make them more easy and then more valuable for them to solving their own problem and then to solve their own examination. And then as we know, there is a different situation between the school and the campus. As I said before, there is a really big gap. And then as we know, the college will be, and then some of the students, as we know, that they will be feel, some of the college, they will feel that they did not have any more privacy, because as we know, they already get limited by using smartphone in the campus, and then they did not have a freedom anymore to use what is it their own right. And then as we say, we as the opposition team we are really disagree about this motion, because if we limit the using of smartphone in the campus itself, it will be get a negative impact, especially just like government team said in the developing country itself. They say that developing country itself, we have to limit the using of smartphone, that we know we are still developing, and then which mean that we have to rebuild again if we limit the using of smartphone, which mean that some of the college itself did not get any information from all of the world, and then from all around of their self. And then with this situation, we really disagree about this motion that limit the use smartphone in the campus. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Mr. Rifki. As the opposition whip, Mr. Rifki spent 5 minutes and 14 seconds. 5 minutes and 14 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, member of the House, this is the end of the debate for the shift. For the debaters, thank you very much. You may proceed back to your seat, and by this I hereby close this round. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
While waiting for the educators, all the debaters may proceed go to the stage. Thank you.
So, welcome everyone to the second preliminary round, last shift today. In this chamber, we have Politeknik Perkapalan Negeri Surabaya as opening government with Mr. Sultan as Prime Minister, Mr. Rizky as Deputy Prime Minister. In opening opposition, we have Universitas Muhammadiyah Jakarta with Mr. Lutfian as the leader of opposition and Ms. Dalila as the Deputy Leader of Oppositions. In closing half of the debate, we have Universitas Pesantren Tinggi Darul Ulum as the closing government with Ms. Maria as the Member of Government and Mr. Hussein as the Government Whip. In closing opposition, we have Untirta with Mr. Irfan as Member of Opposition and Mr. Uki as the Opposition Whip. This debate is going to be this House belief that the government should no longer subsidize university education. To open the debate, I would like to welcome Prime Minister. Time is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am here as a Prime Minister on the opening government side. We are here to debate under the motion, this House believes that the government should no longer subsidize university education. Before we discuss furthermore about this motion, first, let me tell you the definition of subsidy. Subsidy is a policy from the government to help some section in the country to develop their qualities, which means a subsidy for university education is to help the student learn or study without have to think about the money or financial problems. But the problem here in our country is until right now, the government still giving subsidy towards the university, and it has successfully increased the dependence rates of university. And what will happen when the dependent rates of university is increasing? So the things that will happen is the university won't develop anymore. Why? Because they have depended on us, on government, and they didn't try to develop its own financial income. So we think this is bad. And also, our purpose here as a government is to stop giving subsidy and make university able to fulfill its our need by using its own income. Rather than using subsidy, the university should use or should maximize the potential of the internal unit that already exists in university. The example is like a corporation, like an internal bank or young entrepreneurship programs.
Sir.
So by doing this kind of program, thank you. By doing this kind of program, we can maximize the internal potential from the university itself. And then the remaining money that the government has for the university can be allocated to another section. The example for another section is to build some kind of facility that still is missing in the rural area. For the example is, in the Papua, we have some kind of children that needs to walk approximately 5 kilometers to just go to school. So, why? Because they are separated by the river, and the river is dangerous and so big. And by creating or by building some kind of bridge that can be helpful to them. Why? Because when we already successful develop a bridge or build a bridge, we can help them. So the money that is allocated for the education, no, thank you. The money that has already prepared for the education, we can allocate them for another section. And Allah says in Surah As-Sad, verse 86, it says, "Kul ma as'alukum alaihi min ajrin wa ma ana minal mutakallifin." Say, "O Muhammad, I don't ask you for the Quran any payment, and I'm not of the pretension." In here, I don't ask you for the Quran. The Quran here have some kind of implicit means that is some knowledge. So we are here as some kind of university. So university is giving education and university is giving knowledge. Allah says in here, He don't need any payment for what knowledge that Muhammad is that he gave to Muhammad. So we as some kind of student or some kind of university member, we need to know that the means of knowledge is to share and to give, not to sell. Why? Because when we use some kind of price to give or to share our knowledge, it is mean that we don't obey Allah's commands. So we think it is enough for universities to gain income from the internal units and from the students' fee. Why? Because right now we do acknowledge that tertiary education level on university level is still need money. So we still able to get our money from the student by using student fee. But we don't have to give subsidies or give subsidy towards them. Why? Because it is our duty to give them our knowledge that we have. So by using this kind of allocated money for the university, we have to use it towards another section. And like the example that I have said before is towards the rural area. So we believe that this motion, or we believe as a government, we should stop giving them subsidy. I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Prime Minister spent 5 minutes and 35 seconds. 5 minutes and 35 seconds. To open the case of oppositions, I'd like to welcome Leader of Opposition, Mr. Lutfian. The floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable adjudicators and judges and misters and madam. So I will do some rebuttals that the government team has said before. They'll tell you to do not longer subsidize the university educations, but they don't tell you why not continuing these subsidies to university is the best way to elevate the education in university itself. So the second, there are no specific argument that telling why the government itself provide no longer subsidies, although they will argue why we have to do not continue this kind of subsidies to the university education. So the third, if they want to develop infrastructure rather than the education itself, so then the government teams is consider that education is less important. So with these things, we do believe that there are missing conceptions about our topic today. So there are 3 stress points that we want to discuss in this debate. The first is about the subsidies, the second is about the government, and the third is about the university education. University education, I will tell you what is the purpose of the university education itself. The purpose of university education is to prepare the colleges to become a part of the people who have ability in academic and professional in which can apply, develop, and create science, technology, and develop and spread science, technology to be a professional. So, the third, as we know that the quality of the nation itself, the quality as education itself, it is determined from the quality of the education. So we see that Singapore and Japan, who develop more in education, they are developing their country. They become a good country today. So this is based on what the on the word of Imam Shafi'i that says, "Man arada dunya fa'alayhi bil ilmi, wa man arada al akhirata fa'alayhi bil ilmi, wa man aradahuma fa'alayhi bil ilmi." If he wants to cap the word, so it must be by the knowledge, and if you want to create the from akhirah, it must be by knowledge also. So, as we know that that seeking the knowledge is an obligation for every people. This is based on a hadith that telling talabul ilmi faridatun ala kulli muslimin. So it is an obligation for every people to seek the knowledge, and especially we're talking about the university education. So the third point is about the government. As we know that written in fiqh siyasa, that one of the duty of the government is siyasatud dunya. It means that the government has the obligation to keep the right of their citizens' right. So we know that education is one of the citizens' right that exists from the government. So as we know that one hadith that telling you that kulukum ra'in wa kulukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi. So it means that the government has the obligations to provide the good educations based on what? Based on giving the citizen the subsidies and giving the university education to subsidies this kind of education. So as we know that the education is the duty to all stakeholders, and we do believe that the government has an obligation to keep the right of the education itself. So from the third stress point that I've been mentioned before, that the education is important based on man arada dunya fa'alayhi bil ilmi. So the second, that seeking of knowledge is an obligation for every people. Talabul ilmi faridatun ala kulli muslimin wa muslimatin. So it's the duty of the government to make sure that all citizens has the same right to gain the good education. So as based of the three of these stress point, we do believe that the government should continue to subsidize the education in university level, and on that we proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition, for the speech. Now to engage and expand the case of opening government, I'd like to warmly welcome Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Rizky. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, first I will rebut from the second speaker from opening opposition. First speaker, we are afraid that opening opposition needs what we have been saying before. We stop subsidy to develop the university education. How we as we already said that honestly should maximize its own internal units like cooperation internal, bank and youth entrepreneur programs. By doing this, we will help to improve the university way to get this income. And also opening opposite said that we regulate the education level, but first let me tell you as my first like help children with the entrepreneurship program. I will give a example. University is subsidy is a policy from the government to develop, but if the university can trade the money to the build and the increase the facility, university can get the money from the bank, university corporation, and then research from this university. So university can make the training for the student or academician, such as entrepreneurship workshop or entrepreneurship training. Because
on that point, sir?
No, because entrepreneurship program is so very important for the student and academician to increase the level of university. University, if university make the entrepreneurship program, the student can get the knowledge from the university, from the entrepreneurship program, and then the student and academician from the university can apply the knowledge for the life, for a few days ago, for this next time, and then university have income from the student, and then the student get the knowledge from the workshop or seminar, and then
on that point, sir, before that.
No, and then from the opening government team, we can allocate the money to build infrastructure in isolated area. In the Indonesia is not country that many school or university in the city. So
on that point, sir.
No. So the government can allocate the money to build or increase the facility to opening to facilitate the education from the isolated area. And then
on that point, sir.
No. Thank you. And then from the Quran is from the Quran said that Allah give Al-Quran, Allah give the Al-Quran not with the payment, because Al-Quran is like a knowledge. Al-Quran is like a knowledge. Knowledge is like a campus, because Allah say that, and then we can get the statement if the university is the government should no longer subsidy university education, because the university and then student is because the student and academician from the university can be entrepreneur and then build the university themselves. Thank you very much. I think that's all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. Deputy Prime Minister spent 5 minutes and 17 seconds. 5 minutes and 17 seconds. Now, to close the opening half of the debate, I would like to welcome the Deputy Leader of Opposition, Ms. Dalila. Time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before I give my opinion, I'm standing here as Deputy Leader of Opposition. I will clarification and debating from the second position of opening government. They tell that as we know that university need a lot of money to increase their level. So how can government not subsidies the university? And they said that infrastructure, when they don't give subsidies to the university, they may allocate the money to the infrastructure. So give us an evidence that infrastructure is more important than knowledge. Okay, that's it. And now I wanna describe my opinion. First, as we know, the duty of government is siyasatuddin. What siyasatuddin mean? Siyasatuddin is manage stabilization of their citizens' life. And education is an important thing for the country. If government no longer subsidies the university, it might down the quality of the university itself. Why? Like we know, what can make a university become a better one? The university purpose is prepare the colleger become a part of people who have an ability and in academic and professional on it, which the colleger can apply, develop, and create science, technology, and art. How can we develop and even create science, technology, even art, if we don't have capital or money? So, wait a minute. So, I do believe that government should continue subsidies the university. And in Quran Surah Al-Mujadalah ayat 11, Yarfa'illahilladzina amanu minkum walladzina utul ilma darajah. Allah will elevate the degree of people who seeking for knowledge. So the knowledge is very important, and government should continue subsidies the university. As we know, 1,000 years ago, let me talk a minute. 1,000 years ago, Andalusia is able to survive for 700 years because they advanced science. And at Abbasiyah Rise facility, okay, go ahead.
How can you ignore the youth children problem that is still uneducated in isolated area? Thank you.
Okay, we now here to talk about subsidies in university, not subsidies in elementary or junior or high school. We hear about university. When university get subsidies, they might can develop the bridge if in civil engineer, or even they in healthy major, they can come to the Papua like what you have seen before. They can give they can make a clinic or else. And I want to give the conclusion of my speech. The first is the quality of education determines the advancement of a nation. And the second, Imam Shafi'i said that seeking knowledge is obligatory. And the third, duty of government is manage stabilization of their citizens' life. The fourth, Allah will elevate the degree of people who seeking for knowledge. With all of this case, with proud to oppose. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Deputy Leader of Opposition. Deputy Leader of Opposition spent 4 minutes and 15 seconds. 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Now, to open the closing half of the debate, I'd like to warmly welcome Government Member Mr. Mazia. Mrs. Mazia, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests and respectable adjudicators. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before I'm going to my opinion, I would like to tackle from the opening opposition team. Well, whereas here, ladies and gentlemen, the opening government team have already give you a definition about what subsidized, and also they also say that if we don't need to, government should no longer subsidize university education, because in order we will not depend on to the government. Right, ladies and gentlemen, and from the opening opposition, they always said that seeking knowledge is obligation, education is our duty. Yes, I'm sure that, and my team is also believe that if education is very important. But here, ladies and gentlemen, here, but it doesn't mean that we always depend also the government to increase our education. So, but from the opposition team, they always said it seems that they always depend on to the government to increase their knowledge. And also the second opening opposition said that government, it seems like university needs more subsidized than elementary, junior, and and senior high school. Whereas, ladies and gentlemen, in the name of university, they are more creative and they have more they are more able to increase their education system.
In that sense,
no, thank you. So here, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to argue my argumentation. Where here, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, positive. We have pointed that positive externalities of higher education. Generally, university education does offer some external benefits to society. Higher education leads to a more educated and productive workforce. Countries with high rates of university education generally have higher levels of innovation and productivity growth. Therefore, there is a justification for the government subsidizing higher education. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's very clear that if university level have more ability to strengthen, to make to growth to make their education to be better, because a university is a place where people are more able, they have more creativity than elementary and junior high school, so that why they can do everything with their own skill, and they're productive, they have product to make their university to be better without subsidized from the government.
On that point.
Oh, okay, thank you. And for the next opinion of mine, that is make people value education more. If people have to pay to go to university, you could argue that they would value the education more. If higher education is free, it may encourage students to take their easy 3 years relaxation. So here, ladies and gentlemen, it means that university students, university education don't always depend on the government to make their education to be better. And here, there are many things that a government need to pay attention about this. Not only about the education. There are many. There are many parts that government should take a part. Should to be paid. So here, government no longer subsidize university education. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Member of Government. Member of Government spent 4 minutes and 21 seconds. 4 minutes and 21 seconds. Now, to extend the case of opposition bench, I would like to invite Member of Oppositions to take the floor. Mr. Irfan, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Mr. and Madam Speaker, first let me portray what actually the weakness of opening government and also closing government in the first place. First, the major idea that had been brought by the opening governments is it cannot to develop because it's depend on governments. The first questions, how finally university could independent without the helping of the governments, and second, how the budget could be accessed when even the students cannot to pay the money or the tuitions or fee because the higher budget or tuitions that provide by university because no help from the government, or even if there's any help from the company, but of course there's a feedback and also it's less rather than a help of the governments in the very first place. And second, opening government purpose here is to maximize the internal and also to
give a bridge toward the Papua cases, for examples. But first, we all know that actually there's a budget toward the infrastructures itself. Educations and infrastructures is really different budget of APBN in the very first place. So first, they could provide and also prove on how the budget for the infrastructures is not enough. So that's why it should be allocated toward the infrastructures cases like a bridge in the Papua in the very first place. And second, they should explain on how that these things as the closing governments should explain how the value of education will exist in the very first place, because I do not understand what actually closing government brought in the debate in the very first place. And what finally we are really different with the opening oppositions, because will explain explicitly on how the responsibility of government should be done and on how right of the students and also people should be upheld in the very first place, and why finally the impact of this policy when we are trying to implement in the very first place, ladies and gentlemen. Going to the first, we see that every person has a right to get an education. Why? Because the education is a basic need of the every person, because it's a step to be better in the future, because they will understand and they will learn about the knowledge that will make them expert. But even if that there's any 9 years old educations that free, but we think that it's not enough, because 9 years old is a common or even a common knowledge different with university level when we are focused on experting our subjects in the very first place. And even if the students get a job, but this job is not higher rather than the university in the very first place, because they are capable enough itself, ladies and gentlemen. Based on constitutional and on the 31 Pasal and also on the year of 1945, that it's the right of the students or persons to get any education, ladies and gentlemen. It's obviously the right that cannot to be banned in the very first place. And then second, on how finally it's become a responsibility of the government. First, the university is the state-owned, ladies and gentlemen. So it's obvious that government should propose and also should give a help in kind of budget in the very first place, ladies and gentlemen. And second, on how, because university as a tool to make a better country and to develop the country itself, ladies and gentlemen. When we are not subsidize this university, on how this university could running well, ladies and gentlemen. These the big questions, because there are a lot of university when we ban or even when we not subsidize, it's really harming all the university existency, ladies and gentlemen. And the last one, why it's become a responsibility, because there's a social contract where the society who choose the president in order to help them, in order to understand them, and also to provide the education for them, ladies and gentlemen, because how important of education had been explained in the very first place. And the last one, on how finally it's harming the conditions of the society, because when there's no educated people, because we see that there are three characteristics of the society. First, the poor; second, the middle; and the third, the rich one. How finally the poor and the middle couldn't access this university, ladies and gentlemen, because the meaning of the subsidy here is to reduce the budget that actually should pay by the students in the very first place, ladies and gentlemen. When this budget's still higher, means that the chance of the poorer and also of the middle economic will not uphold in the very first place. Then the results, they cannot get any proper educations, that they cannot uphold the right of them, that they cannot get a step or stone to get their bright futures in the very first place, ladies and gentlemen. And the bad conditions or the worst conditions, it will backlash this society will backlashing the government, because they do not trust with the government. Then the result, the regulations that had been made by the government will be neglected by the society in the very first place. So it's really harming when we stop the subsidies from the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Member of Opposition, for the speech. Now, to close the Member of Opposition spent 5 minutes and 30 seconds. 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, to close the case of government, I'd like to welcome Government Whip. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear ladies and gentlemen and honorable adjudicators, from the opening opposition, they said about the looking for knowledge. Yes, we know that looking for knowledge is very important as in hadis Rasulullah. But we also know that in alala tanalul ilma illa bisitatin saumbi kaan majmu iya bi bayani. One of the point for looking for science that money. If we don't have money, of course, the barakah is less. We know that many jobless, they have graduated from university and they got subsidized because they got it. They are lazy to study, and yes, they are graduate by self, and then after graduate. So they are jobless. Okay, that's for my rebut. And then
on that point, sir.
Sorry, sir.
Thank you.
And this is my opinion. If the government subsidizes the university education, we can imagine how is the student. Yes, we know that most of the subsidies that can make increase the student to study hard. But sometimes we know that. The subsidies that make the student of university, they are lazy because I just get money and yes, main point, I will graduate from university.
Before that,
yeah, sorry, sir. And then the second, government also has many programs for make citizen peaceful of. So if the government just be focused on education, the country will be left with another country. We know that government should subsidize the university, but we have many programs. So that's why we have to, if the university, they have been toward, of course, sorry sir. If the university, they have been toward, of course, the government should take the subsidize. And then the third, do we have too many graduates? In recent decades, there has been a rapid rise in the number of graduates. But many graduates are now leaving university to take jobs which don't require degree.
Before that.
Sorry, sir. Therefore, it is a mistake to continue to fund the public expression of university education because the economy doesn't need more graduates as much as other vocational skills. And is that maybe? All in all, we do agree if government should no longer for subsidized education university. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Government Whip. Now, Government Whip spend 3 minutes and 6 seconds. 3 minutes and 6 seconds. To close this round, I'd like to welcome Mr. Uki to deliver the whip speech. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. Before going to my substantive and before going to the clashes and another explanation, I'll try to emphasize what is the likenesses and the weaknesses coming from the government set of the House and the opening opposition. Ladies and gentlemen, talking about the government set of the House, until the end of the debate, both of the team still fail to give the justification to not longer subsidize the university education in the very first time, because they not mention about how characteristic of and the level of the society, which is from poor families, from the middle families, and from the rich families. It's okay if you try to cut all of the subsidy, if every single people are rich, ladies and gentlemen, and every single university can independent without kind of the helping coming from the government in the very first time. But ladies and gentlemen, we have the problem in our country, which is the high number of the stupidity and the high number of the poor people, ladies and gentlemen. And when they said about another program to make sure that the prosperity will be gotten by all of our society, case by case, ladies and gentlemen, but actually, we really believe that the root of the problems of our poor poverty, ladies and gentlemen, inside of country is about the lack of our education, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why the government need to concern about the education, whether from the elementary until the university, ladies and gentlemen. Because of why? They add more educated people inside of the country, more developed one country. And also it's in line with the globalization and the modern era, which is more developed and fluctuative, that need the adaptation from every single society. And this kind of adaptation only can be happen if every single society have the proper education the very first time. But ladies and gentlemen, if you said about there is the obligations education like the elementary school, high school, and the senior high school, but ladies and gentlemen, it's not enough. Because of why? Because it's talking about the common knowledge as the basic knowledge for every single society. But ladies and gentlemen, in the university education, you will be taught the specific subjects, specific profession that you want to be, ladies and gentlemen, like to be doctor, accountant, engineer, or something like that. And it will give the contribution toward the government and toward our country if there is the more smart people inside of country in every single aspect, ladies and gentlemen. But ladies and gentlemen, on how this education of university is really important, and how government and why government should facilitate the people who have passion to enter the university and they have the problem in their financial in the very first time, ladies and gentlemen, because the subsidy have the function to grant sovereignty of every single people and make people can afford what is the basic needed for them. Ladies and gentlemen, several rebuttals throughout all of the teams. Talking about the opening government, they say that it creates the dependency of the government. But ladies and gentlemen, first, you can generalize on university are strong and power enough to give the education, because education also need money, ladies and gentlemen. Hard infrastructure and also the computer or anything, ladies and gentlemen, that could support the education system is not cheap, ladies and gentlemen. So to make sure we will not burden the students by giving the tuition fee, ladies and gentlemen, it's really wise for the government to give help toward the university to accommodate all of the infrastructure with this subsidy. Ladies and gentlemen, when they said about the allocation toward the rural area, but ladies and gentlemen, first there is that's the specific budget for the infrastructure the very first time, but we think, ladies and gentlemen, the soft infrastructure is really more important, ladies and gentlemen, on how we can make all of the education will be strict until Morocco, ladies and gentlemen, if we have the quality of people like they are become the good quality of teacher or anything, ladies and gentlemen. So actually, what they are really talking about will be achieved in our proposal. Moreover, ladies and gentlemen, actually, if they try to no longer subsidize this, the tuition fee will be expensive, ladies and gentlemen. So we really concerned how will increase the number of the poor people, the number of stupid people, ladies and gentlemen, if they even cannot afford the university education in their very first time. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, the opening opposition are never contextualized what is the problem in the status quo until it's still justified to give the subsidy toward every single university. But we have taught you about the characteristic of different level of the society, and it gives significant beneficial to the prosperity of every single people. So ladies and gentlemen, actually the subsidy is really important to be accessed, and subsidy also will give the competitive and motivation to all of our single society, ladies and gentlemen, to study more, because they try to enter the national university that give the subsidy because they know that their family cannot afford the expensive one, ladies and gentlemen. So we think that this kind of the competitive temperature, ladies and gentlemen, will be better toward the spirit of our youth in the very first time, ladies and gentlemen. So because of those things, ladies and gentlemen, actually if our university have the potential and can prove about their quality of education, ladies and gentlemen, they also can get another help coming from the company example or anything to develop the student in the very first time. Because of those things, ladies and gentlemen, we really pro to oppose.
That speech of opposition whip speech definitely concludes today's debate and also today's preliminary round. Opposition whip spent 5 minutes and 27 seconds. 5 minutes and 27 seconds. That's the end of this round. So I would like to invite all of the participants to go back to their seat. Thank you for the speech and enjoy your day.